you ever hear the tragedy of
Star Wars Outlaws?
No.
I thought not. It's not a story the Jedi would tell you.
Sunday, September 8th, I posted my review of Star Wars Outlaws. This was, as I mentioned in that video, not a complete review, as I hadn't finished the game at that point. In fact, I had only recruited the first member of Kay's crew and was probably still under 10 hours of playtime. By the end of the very next day, I'd made it to the final set of missions.
What have I done?
Now, I'll be completely honest, I don't know why this happened. I didn't care about the story, I don't care about the characters, and I didn't even find anything in the game to be particularly entertaining. And yet, after the first 3 stressful missions of Space Marine 2, I found myself booting up Star Wars Outlaws, and not turning it off for the next almost 8 hours. Given my now extended experience with the game, and the fact that I've actually completed the story at this point, I feel like there's multiple things that need addressed that weren't in my first video. The biggest of these, what I actually liked. Despite spending over double the amount of time in this game since that first video, I can't say it's all that much. I really like the music. It feels like Star Wars, and it feels like it fits the theme of this game. I especially enjoy the main theme. As well, I also quite enjoy the lockpicking. It's not hard and requires 0 risk, but it is quite fun. When you hit the timings, you feel good, and no matter how annoyed I was by having to lockpick a door or crate, I always enjoyed the process. Finally, the only thing I really found fun, the blast shot. This is a special firing mode for Kay's way too versatile pistol that fires a slow, explosive blaster bolt. This was fun because you can't fire more than 2 consecutive shots without overheating, and you have to charge up the shot. On top of this, it deals splash damage and will throw enemies like they're made of feathers. It was extremely satisfying to shoot a dude and watch him get launched 10 feet away. It also eliminates the need to switch to the ion mode to deal with heavy stormtroopers, and I like that quite a bit. Now before we get into the story, I'd like to take a moment to give Kay's actress some credit. Not for the animations, those are still shit, but the performance is actually really solid, especially in the later missions. I don't like Kay nor her character, but she was never lacking emotion. When Kay found out the bad guy's secret, she sounded terrified, with some heavy breathing and voice cracks.
Kiddo, eye on the score.
Yeah, okay. We got a big problem. Sliro just met with someone who... I don't know, he just tore the room apart. Sliro's Imperial. He's an ISB director. Did you know?
What? I'm not that crazy.
This is bad.
She stayed consistently emotional for the final 6 or so hours, and while I didn't enjoy the character, she didn't feel like she was phoning it in.
That wizard came from the moon.
Despite the fact that I finished this game and the fact that I didn't hate playing it, there are problems that need to be addressed in greater detail, and I can actually speak on the story since I was too lazy to do anything more than read a synopsis for my last video. So let's start with the story, since I'm writing this script immediately after finishing it. It can feel so forced. That's the synopsis. So I'll touch briefly on the first part of the game since it's brought up a lot in the later parts. Basically, Kay helps free a rebel and then pulls a blaster on them. They knock her out and leave her there, where she is found by the evil apple dude.
Partners, weren't you listening? I'm starving. It's time to eat.
And after plot armoring her way out of that situation, she steals his ship. The rest of the game has people hunting you because of a bounty that he put on your head. Now I think it's important to note that Kay blames the rebels for this bounty being put on her, and that is just bad writing. She pulled the blaster on them. They didn't betray her. I think if either Eminem or Pretty Eyes brought this point up, it would make for a much better arc for Kay, as she has to come with terms with the fact that she's not as innocent as she'd like to believe. Moving on to the middle of the story, we have to hunt down 3 crew members, a demolitionist, a droid programmer, and a Heavy. Now, side note, I hate the term heavy. It sounds weird being said so seriously. Why not Enforcer? That's what Draco Malfoy is called. Or Muscle, like it's called in every other game ever. Anyways, the Demolitionist is a race I don't actually know off the top of my head, but she's kinda your typical bland, make stuff go boom type of character. The Droid Slicer is a Rhodian, and would actually be interesting if he was written well. You see, we learned later, after recruiting him, that he was only working for the Empire because Kay left him behind on a job, and he got caught. It was work for the Empire or go to jail. So tell me why he's not mad to see us at all. He doesn't even mention it. A different character does. But he just seems so happy to see Kay and never once brings up how she ruined his life. Next we go to get our Heavy, and he's a Celestian who's being held hostage by the Sand People. Man, what an original name. Anyways, we help him out, and then right before we're meant to leave, we find him gambling. He loses, obviously, and has no money to pay up, so he gives the guy Nix.
As always, now pay up. Don't have it. Easy. Is that yours? This dressed up want bread. No.
What the hell are you doing?
It's yours.
Ow! Go with me!
Kay freaks out and gets stunned, and then we wake up freaking out. We then spend the next hour oohing and awing at every reference to the original trilogy. We get caught after saving Nix and get thrown to the Rancor along with the bounty hunter that's only alive because the plot demands it.
Who are you?
Run. I said run.
We defeat the Rancor just to not be caught again, and told by Jabba that we have to steal something or other from a nearby Imperial base. We do so with zero help from our partner and clear our name with Jabba. The bounty hunter lets us go and we leave Tatooine. Oh, I forgot to mention, the Heavy got jumped by 2 dogs while Kay just stood there and let him die.
Better you than me.
So now we just don't have a Heavy, but the game assures us we don't need him and we just move on. This brings us to the first real main quest side quest, which is actually a compliment. Outside of every person needing our help before joining the crew, there wasn't that much artificial bloat. Perhaps that's why I finished an open world game in under 14 hours. So ND is starting to glitch for no reason other than the fact that he's pushing 20 to 30 years old and likely hasn't had any regular maintenance in a decade. I don't have a problem with it actually, I think it makes some sense, and it's the first time he actually leaves a ship outside of cutscenes. I think it's funny that every time he defaults back to commando droid he misses.
Proximity alert. Get it off.
What's wrong, Andy?
Call commando from surrounding. Jedi infiltrator detected. Alert General Grievous.
Anyways, nothing here is hard, and honestly there's not even that much character development. Literally the only reason for this mission is to pad runtime and to reintroduce us to the rebels that we worked with in the first mission. Turns out Slim Shady and Alexandria Daddario are using the old droid factory as a rebel base, and they strong-arm us into helping them rescue some other rebels in exchange for fixing ND. We go to rescue the rebels and find that instead of the Empire, it's the evil witches people.
I'm starving. It's time to eat.
Who are holding them hostage, but we're given a shrug by Mr. Red Twi'lek and we move on. ND is fine, obviously, and Kay is a little too happy that he's okay.
You're okay.
Did I hurt you?
Even if you did, you were broken.
Seconds, Leo.
I don't need help. I'm not broken.
But we'll get there. So we go back to the ship, all ready to proceed with the heist, and what do you know? Kay's MILF mommy is there.
Hey, Kay.
We need 2 slicers, right? Well, here's the best of the best.
Not her.
Turns out she's the best hacker in the Outer Rim, I guess, and Jalen tells us to stop pouting and do the job.
Okay, I get it. But the score comes first. We need her. You need her. And that death mark's not going anywhere.
I'm actually on his side here. You have to put aside your mommy issues for all of one day, and then you can be rich. Oh, also, Annabeth is now our heavy.
Why are you here?
Jalen said you needed firepower, and rebellions aren't cheap, so.
Funny, because the only thing he does is wait in the casino and watch me shoot all the bad guys when we're leaving. But before we can rob the vault, we have to go steal the codes from Drapple.
I'm starving. It's time to eat.
On an Imperial space station. We sneak in with our mom, and after like an hour of either shitty parkour or shitty stealth, we see the best moment in this entire game. I'm just gonna show it because it wouldn't do it justice, and to be frank, most people probably haven't cared enough to get to this part.
That's nonsense.
Without rebels, Zarek Besh is a failure. You, Director Barsha, are a failure.
Failure? The ISB has created the most groundbreaking intelligence network the Empire has seen, and accomplished more in weeks than the entire Imperial Army. An army whose mindless show of force allowed a rebel fleet to escape from Hoth. It is the ISB that will win this war. I'm so close. Lord Vader.
Then I suggest you find some rebels, Director. The Emperor is waiting.
So Kay freaks out because now she knows that they're essentially robbing the Empire instead of just some crime syndicate, and she takes it to the crew. They all try to back out just for Kyle Katarn to reconvince them in under 30 seconds.
So now you're scared. Hank, you lost everything. And here's a score that means you can start again. And how about a few million for an ex-Imperial to just vanish? And rebellions need a lot more than hope. Especially when you're losing.
Flashback. End of flashback.
Okay. The reason we're all here is because you proved it could be done. You've seen this vault with your own eyes. And this is your one shot at freedom. No Sliro, no death mark. No more looking over your shoulder.
What do you think, Kay?
So the heist is fine, and outside of too many boring stealth sections, it's quick and easy. We get to the vault with Kay doing decent at outsmarting the droid until she forgot Darth Vader's name, because that's a name you forget. We break in, and shocker, we get jumped by the cube heads, and eventually come face to face with the evilest apple in the galaxy.
I have to thank you. I've never had a chance to claim my own death mark.
He tells the bounty hunter chick to kill us, and she doesn't.
Blast her. Anything you're waiting for?
No. I've decided.
Is this a joke?
Hilarious, isn't it? 20%.
Saying she wants a cut in exchange for her betrayal. We agree and leave. She stays behind because she thinks she needs to hold them off, even though nobody was getting through that vault door without the dude who knows a code. Whatever. We escape through the casino with only our mother and Annabeth before meeting up with KD and Kyle Katarn on a ship. Turns out we stole a space USB instead of like 200 million credits. In shock of shocks, Kyle Katarn turns on us.
Hey, you said the rebellion gets access and nobody gets hurt.
Is there anyone in here not stabbing me in the back?
Annabeth is knocked out, our mom knew about the betrayal and helped, and KD tells us it isn't him as he stuns us.
It's not me, Kay.
We wake up in a locked escape pod, courtesy of the roadie and the demolitionist. Instead of leaving, we decide to stay to free ND because Kay's in love with him.
ND is still under Jalen's control.
He was Jalen's enforcer long before we came into the picture.
And without him, you'd be locked up in some Imperial lab. And you'd be a prisoner on Kijimi. Yeah, we lost. But ND is the only one that can't walk away.
Anakin, it's only a droid.
We do the whole A New Hope stormtrooper disguise thing and follow Evil Apple to the bridge. Turns out Kyle Katarn is his brother, and ND was sent to kill Kyle. How Kyle stopped him, we'll never know, but he did, I guess.
Director Barsha, I understand there has been a security breach.
It's a personal matter.
Not when you've been so careless with critical Imperial intelligence. You have outlived your usefulness to the Emperor.
Jalen.
The Empire accepts your terms, Jalen Rex.
Nice cape. Let me guess, the fur was your idea.
The coordinates to the rebel base.
Set course for Akiva, friend.
Darth Vader has accepted Kyle's deal to replace his brother in exchange for the data we stole, and Annabeth. ND is ordered to kill Maleficent. He does so, and then Kale reveals herself in the worst way possible. Kyle Katarn gives us some forgettable words before sending ND to hunt us down.
Well then, come and get them.
Run!
After a boring final encounter, we remove ND's restraining bolt, and he murders Kyle Katarn.
Me too! ND?
Kay!
I didn't think you had it in you. They made those BX units tough. Blast her.
No.
Not bad. I'll take this.
You okay?
Never better.
For some reason, despite there being no Imperials around, the alarm goes off and we sprint past 30 stormtroopers to our ship. We, along with the help of the rebels and pikes, proceed to blow up the Star Destroyer. Now, this part is weird. I saw Annabeth pick up the USB stick from Kyle Katarn's body.
I'll take this.
And he says how much it'll help the rebels. But then like 5 minutes later, Kay gives it to the bounty hunter chick.
But how about something better? I thought the Codex was lost in battle. To everyone else. I figure there's enough secrets in there for someone to start their own business. Just don't forget me when you rule the underworld.
She said it was said to be lost in the fighting, but how did Kay get it from Annabeth? Whatever. So we give the bounty hunter chick something that's supposedly worth more than 200 million credits and tell her to go start her own gang before flying into the sunset with the love of our lives.
So, where do we go next?
Anywhere we want, ND.
That's the story synopsis, and to be frank, I found it so average. Believe it or not, I had trouble remembering what happened in the story even an hour after when I was writing this. That's a problem. In fact, I think it's the biggest problem with this game. In my previous video I listed lots of problems, and I'll list more in this one, but nothing is more significant than how forgettable this game is. I played 16 hours of it, and I'm struggling to remember it within the week I played it. It's so mind-numbing that you forget what you've been doing for the past hour. Now, there are several points in this story that are either plot holes or explained, but was too boring for me to remember, and instead I just thought them to be plot holes. So let's discuss those. 1. Why does no one wonder why Kyle Katarn is robbing Maleficent? I mean, he's rich and even tells them that. 2. Why didn't they remove Endy's restraining bolt before? I think he said it wasn't necessary in the first act, but like, come on, he was obviously going to be used to betray you.
No, he knows all kinds of things. Like how to remove a restraining bolt without detection. He's got this spike that can erase protocols.
If you keep talking, I'll be forced to blast you.
3. Why does the bounty hunter chick think she deserves to know all of Maleficent's secrets? You're a bounty hunter, not an employee. You hunt the target and get paid. That's it. 4. Why does Kyle Katarn not just pay the crew? He gets given control of the syndicate, so why not just pay everyone and then recoup the money later? 5. What is it with people throwing all logic out the door to try and kill Kay? She's an unknown slicer that didn't even have a ship before. Just ignore her. Also, the fact that she has a massive bounty on her head and not a single person on these slummy Outer Rim worlds tries to collect is insane. Kyle Katarn literally has everything he wanted, but instead of just leaving and taking over the syndicate, he sends ND after Kay and then follows them himself. And then he hesitates to shoot, and then he pushes Annabeth out of his arms so that ND can shoot him. It's ridiculous. And 6. How the hell does an ISB director fail to catch a single rebel? The average rebel is not smarter than an ISB director pretending to be a syndicate boss with hundreds of millions of credits. Could he not just offer to fund them and then catch them? The Empire wasn't asking for a Luke Skywalker here, it should have been easy. Also, what was the point of the opening scene where he kills a representative from 3 of the other 4 syndicates? I'm not even making a joke here, I really don't understand it. Now I have some complaints about the heist. It's fucking boring and uneventful. This mission felt no different from any other mission, and that's a problem. I'd like to use Andor as a comparison, and for anyone who thinks this isn't fair, Andor did a better job making the heist feel interesting in 4 hours than Outlaws did in 14. There are 3 main reasons for this: planning, difficulty, and stakes. Andor spent the first 2-ish episodes of this arc familiarizing us with the characters, their roles, and the plan. You know how long we planned the heist in Outlaws? It's a 30-second cutscene. Why was this not a bigger deal? Like a giant party that we used to sneak in. A overdone cliche, sure, but it would at least be fun. As it stands now, all we gotta do is shitty parkour or shitty stealth with some minor gunfights at the end. It didn't feel unique or climactic. I'm aware that it's not the story's climax, but we don't know that when we're doing it. So it should feel like the climax until it's not. There were numerous troubles that arose in Andor, and half of the plan went to shit even after months of planning, and that's what made it work. Not the going to shit part, but the fact that the characters all adapted in believable ways made it feel like they at least knew how to overcome the troubles. You know what goes wrong in Outlaws? We fall down a pipe and have to go the long way, and then find out it's a trap laid by Maleficent. That's it. And neither problem costs us anything. At one point, it's mentioned that we're 7 minutes behind, but nothing is timed. Not a single thing happened or changed because of that fact. In Andor, every problem was a huge deal that turned a clean operation more and more messy. Finally, the stakes. In Andor, only 3 people survived the mission. Hell, the Imperial defector dude died so quickly in the beginning of the final shootout that you can actually miss him being shot. That right there is stakes. No plot armor. In the Outlaws heist, literally no one is hurt and nothing of consequence happens. Couldn't even accidentally get an innocent bystander killed. All I want is for this mission to feel significant, and it just doesn't. So I did one singular side quest that wasn't required for the main story, and a few contracts to get my pike rep to max. And here's the gist. It's a waste of time. The one side quest was boring, just had me fly around in space, then run around on Tatooine before killing a bunch of dudes, and that's it. Basically the same as every other quest, but with a different NPC giving orders. The contracts were just break in somewhere and steal something, or get something in space and fly it somewhere. Between the main story and the contracts, I had to break into the same one Imperial base on 4 different occasions. In my opinion, it would be better to have less quests and make them feel unique, rather than just having a lot of them. I think part of the reason I dislike these quests and this open world is that the only 3 planets with an open world are so boring. You have a jungle planet, a regular hilly planet, and Tatooine. Never seen that place before. The only planet I actively liked was a snow one, and it has the smallest map out of all the planets. And space does not count, as the space areas were just filled with random shit of no importance. The other problem with quests are the rewards. They're worthless most of the time. You always have enough credits to buy anything you want, if you can even keep up with what you need, that is. And the pitiful lack of outfits are unimportant, seeing as there's only like 2 perks that are useful, and they're on hideous looking outfits. Why are there like 10 armor sets in the game? Why can't I change the colors? Why can't I change Kay's hair? Why can't I change the style of the blaster, not just the colors? It's sad when a game whose main character only uses a blaster sometimes has better customization for it than one where it's the only weapon available. I like ND5. I think he's a cool concept and could have a fun background with him being from the Clone Wars. But why does he never leave the ship? Why does every character just sit on the ship? In most other games, you can at least run around with 1 or 2 of them at a time, having them be a part of dialogues and interactions. It just feels like despite the character being right next to Kay on the game's cover, he isn't even a part of the story. He's probably outside of the ship for 20 minutes total. That's insane. Why is the only person running around with me Grogu? I have to mention this. The mission where Nix gets captured and you have to save him? Yeah, I failed 4 times because I tried to go enjoy the rest of the game without him annoying me. I was forced to spend the only time I had without him trying to rescue him. You know a game has failed if it has to force you to do a task. You should want to do it instead. Now, Outlaws is a strange game because the world looks so good and alive, but is completely empty. NPCs don't pay you any attention and can't be interacted with. You can't shoot anywhere you want. You can't even gamble more than 3 times without having to take a break. For a game about outlaws in the Outer Rim, there's no drinking, no smuggling, no holdups, and no actual advantage to doing anything outside of the main quests. With the exception of the upgrades I was required to install on my speeder, I never once upgraded it. I never upgraded the ion function, and after I unlocked the blast mode, I never upgraded the plasma mode. Outlaws just feels like a game out of 2010. None of the upgrades feel even halfway necessary, and I didn't even meet half of the specialists. There's perks in this game. I don't think I unlocked any outside of fast talk, which is admittedly a decent mechanic if it didn't jerk your gun out of line whenever you pull a blaster on someone. The perks can be unlocked by first unlocking the specialist request that's hardly any different from the contracts, and then you can unlock the individual perks by doing some related objective. To be honest, I don't hate the concept of doing an objective to unlock the perk. It makes it feel like you're actively learning it. I do, however, dislike unlocking these specialists. The missions are boring, the characters are boring, and the perks are rarely needed. This game runs relatively smooth most of the time, with minor performance issues. That being said, I did encounter more than one bug. A noticeable one was when I drove my speeder into a syndicate's base area, and they instantly started shooting me despite having max reputation with them. This cost me a fair amount of rep and was extremely annoying. I fell through the map a few times, had characters just not have their animations, or NPCs just randomly despawning. Generally though, outside of the one that cost me rep, most of these were minor and more entertaining than annoying. Plus, this game autosaves a lot, so even if you crash, which happened maybe 3 times, you will typically have lost very little, if any, progress, and I for one appreciate that. In both this video and my prior one, I've leveled a fair amount of criticism, but if I'm being 100% honest, if this game had a lot of customization, I think it would be way better received. If there were hundreds of sets to choose from with the options to change colors, I think that alone could have carried this game, because sometimes looking cool is more important than anything else. I mean, I pull my hair out every weekend playing Trials, and yet I keep going back for more. And so, I've finished my brief time with Star Wars Outlaws. I have no desire to do the other specialist quests or side quests or to level up the factions fully. I have no desire to do anything in space or even touch a stealth mission again. The 15 hours I put in was enough to see what the game was, to extract whatever value I could. So do I think Star Wars Outlaws was worth $70? No, I don't. Read Star Wars Scoundrels or buy Jedi Outcast. Either will be better than this game. Now if it's between this or Starfield, this game 100%. After completing the campaign, I'm changing my score. 5 out of 10, better than Starfield.
Just keep the lights on, Bram.
As long as you need.